I have mentioned how it is you as the creator who is using your energy to create. And in a mind that isn't in the highest frequency, completely calm and fully achieved in your creations, you might spend your energy in ways that aren't creating necessarily exactly what you want. I have now mentioned how daydreams are a fundamental part of this experience. It's just the only way you can energize the experience you want to have. It will always be a daydream to a degree. And as you are daydreaming, you are, if you look at this picture again as a picture of the experience you want to have, the experience that you are daydreaming about, and you realize that this is not something I necessarily want. I might want it in a different way. Then you will retrieve that energy. You will simply daydream or visualize that the energy gets retrieved to you and cleaned, neutralized first and foremost, and retrieved and cleaned. And then you can start daydreaming again about what you really wanted instead. And that goes for everything. If it's a health issue, if it's something you wanted to experience, if it's something you might want, it could be a new computer or a new bike, whatever it should be. If you have visualized or energized, put energy into something that you realize that you don't want anyway, then instead of first and foremost wasting that energy or creating it anyway without wanting it, then you will simply retrieve that energy. And you can of course see it as, it wouldn't necessarily be a cloud, but it will work in the same way. You will see that energy or feel it, or feel the concept or the idea of this thing that you have been creating. It could be a health issue, it could be a new bike, it could be a trip somewhere, it could be anything. In essence, I'm saying that if you have put energy out there that you don't want to have out there, you simply retrieve it. And you feel as if it's getting retrieved. You feel as if it's getting neutralized and cleaned and retrieved to you. First and foremost, that will be the intent. You intend to neutralize it, retrieve it, and clean it, and it will be energy that have come back to you. So let's say that you have a health issue, for example. You never want to identify with a health issue. You don't want to say that it's something you have or something you are. It's rather something you are doing. And when I say give out an energy that you can retrieve, then it simply means that it's something you are doing. And you can't necessarily stop having a health issue, but you can do something else instead, which, for example, could be to be healthy, to have overcome that health issue and experience health and flow in that aspect of your life instead. So if you have a health issue, that health issue would be a symptom of something that you are doing. It will be a result of something that you are giving out, something you are creating. It could be stress, emotional stress around anything in your life. And when you understand that that is something you do, but it doesn't have to be, then you can simply retrieve that energy, intend to overcome it, intend to retrieve this thing that you have been giving out. But of course, first and foremost, know what you want instead. If you have bad eyesight, you might want to see perfectly clear. There is already a world around you that is perfectly clear in the highest definition we know. Of course, you can see it. And it goes for any health issue. It goes for anything you might create. Know what you want instead, and neutralize this thing that you have previously or up till now been creating. Retrieve it, clean the energies, and start energizing this thing that you want instead. But you need to be wise with these type of things, because it might take a lot of time and effort and energy to do a bigger reprogramming like this. As your frequency gets higher, it will be easier and it will take less energy of you, because you are more mature and more able to deal with things. But you need to prioritize. It's not everything that you need to deal with right now. There's many small things that don't necessarily bother you too much. It's not necessarily something you need to spend so much energy working with. But think about the things that really matters to you, the things that you might want to overcome, and make a decision. Is it something you want to deal with now? Is it worth it? Because you can't deal with everything all at once. That's going to be difficult. So weigh up if it's something you truly want to deal with now. In many situations, it's not necessarily energy you can retrieve, in the sense that you retrieve all of the energy you have ever spent by having bad eyesight or asthma or any health issue. That energy is gone in that experience you have had. It was a low frequency experience. It didn't give you any happiness or joy. The energy is spent. But what you can retrieve is this concept and this idea and this intent and the story you have been telling yourself. And it's not necessarily so you can have extra energy. It's rather so you can stop creating it anymore. So you can now create something else. Because you can't create bad eyesight and great eyesight at the same time and have the experience of both of them. You have to choose. And unless you retrieve this identification you might have created for yourself that you are someone with bad eyesight, well, then you will just keep creating bad eyesight. So you neutralize and retrieve this story, whatever story you're telling yourself, or it could be just the simple intent or knowing that you have bad eyesight. You retrieve it, and then you give out whatever you wanted instead. And that is what you now will energize. You simply recognize what is going on in your life experience that you don't want to experience anymore. If it is angry neighbors, or if it is a health issue, or if it is that same phone you have had for 5 years that you don't want to have anymore. I mean, sure, if you have money you can just go and buy a new phone. And it could be as simple as that, but before you buy a new phone you will need to change your mind about it. And you will, or else you would have just bought a new phone 2 years ago. At some point you realize that you want a new phone. So you visualize yourself with a new phone, and you let go of this idea you have had for so long now, that you are going to have this old, slow phone that is just bothering you. And you take action. You start energizing this new thing, and you stop energizing this old thing, and retrieve it, so you don't create both of them at the same time. It's just going to make things more difficult. To get to that point where you know that, yes, I have actually retrieved the energy, because it's something you have to go through, it's a phase you have to go through to actually see that, okay, I have actually retrieved it. And it's really the simplest thing, and I can just explain it right now, but you will still have to go through it. It just might go a lot quicker for you. If I now say, visualize a fire truck, then you will visualize a fire truck. And it's really that simple. And you feel it somewhat. You're now having the experience of visualizing a fire truck. It's a real experience. And in the same way, you will be aware of this idea that you have been thinking about visualizing, and you retrieve it. And of course you can feel as if you see this energy that you retrieve, and you felt it being retrieved. You see that it's not out there anymore. What is out there is the thing that you now will create, of health, for example.